Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a Pokemon that got not one, but two moveset updates for Season 12, Shadow Girafarig. Girafarig is a normal and Psychic type Pokemon with the moveset of Double Kick, Psychic Fangs, and Thunderbolt. Psychic Fangs gives Girafarig its long-awaited bait move, and with Double Kick, it can now generate energy incredibly quickly. I tried it out in the Great League, and I'll be honest, I had an absolute blast. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, check out Shadow Girafarig in action in the Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a bit of a tough lead, Charm Alolan Ninetales into Dunsparce. Dunsparce is able to hit for super effective damage in this matchup, but thankfully, since it doesn't get same type attack bonus, it still doesn't do a lot of damage. Ninetales able to grab a shield from the Dunsparce. Dunsparce is going to be firing off a Rock Slide. I'm going to tank it and save switch into Shadow Girafarig. Dunsparce is going to fire off a move. I will commit a shield on Girafarig. Girafarig, not the tankiest, and my opponent brings in Lantern. I have a ton of energy. I'm going for the Psychic Fangs bait. Let's lower their defense and try and land a Thunderbolt. Girafarig farms up, reaches the Thunderbolt, and wins CMP. Thunderbolt able to land and KOs the bulky Lantern. Back in comes Dunsparce, but Girafarig is not done. Able to win CMP again. Psychic Fangs takes out the Dunsparce. In the back, they have Medicham, and Shadow Girafarig is on an absolute rampage. Psychic Fangs gets the defense drop, and from here, I can just Shadow Claw all the way down with Runerigus. They fire off a Psychic. That's perfectly fine. They're not going to be able to reach another Psychic. This should just be a power-up punch, because if they threw a Psychic, odds are they don't have Ice Punch. It's a power-up punch. I'm able to farm down, and that is a good game. The bad leads continue in the next match, Alolan Ninetales into G-Fisk. I save switch into Shadow Girafarig, and my opponent responds with Sableye. This is not the greatest matchup ever. Foul Play will hit for massive super effective damage. I'm going to commit the shield, throw one more Double Kick, and bait with the Psychic Fangs, hoping to try and get a shield. Psychic Fangs gets a shield from Sableye, and now I'm going straight for the Thunderbolt. Do they respect the damage? They do not, and Sableye gets one shot. In the back, they have Medicham, so winning switch advantage quite literally means that I win this game. I'm able to fire off a Psychic Fangs. Medicham is going to be able to farm me down just before I reach my next move, but that's perfectly fine. I can bring in the A9, tank the Psychic, and when they switch back into their G-Fisk, I'm going to have a fantastic response available with my Runerigus. Runerigus just has an incredibly good matchup here. They're going to fire off the Earthquake. Earthquake is a pretty powerful move, but Runerigus tanks it no problem. This is only a Rock Slide, so I'm not going to be shielding this up. I'm going to be letting that go. And then I'm going straight for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will do a ton of damage here if it lands. Shadow Ball does get the shield. Stunfisk going for the farm down, but Runerigus says no. Able to reach the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball takes out the G-Fisk, and the opponent concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, picking up a great lead, A9 into Altaria. Opponent save switches into Lantern, and this is trouble. I don't have a good response to a Lantern save switch. I get some charm damage, bring in Girafarig, but Lantern is already at a Surf. Thanks to Surf, Lantern is very spammy, and they're going to be able to outpace me before I reach my Thunderbolt. And what started off as a really promising looking game is now looking pretty dire, as I've had to use both of my shields. Thunderbolt takes out the Lantern. Opponent brings back in the Altaria, and they're going to look to farm down. I should be able to reach double Psychic Fangs. It's not going to be enough to KO Altaria, but at the very least, it should be able to do quite a bit of damage. Shadow Girafarig is able to reach the second Psychic Fangs. That is big. Gets the Altaria quite low. I bring in the Ninetales, and the Charm goes through. A second Charm will be enough to take them out. Sky Attack lands. I'm able to KO the Altaria, and in the back, they have Rollout Dunsparce, which is a core breaker for my remaining two Pokemon. I fire off a Weather Ball, and it lands. Maybe we have a chance here. I immediately bring in Runerigus. The nice thing is that even though Dunsparce is going to double resist Shadow Claw and Shadow Ball, I am going to be resisting their fast moves, so they can't apply a lot of fast move pressure here. So I'm just going to stay in, fire off Sand Tomb after Sand Tomb, and try and do as much damage as possible. I'm just going to slowly chip away at their defense, and hopefully I can win this game. Dunsparce is going to begin to shield. I try and get to the Sand Tomb, but I barely get outpaced. That's not great. Drill Run, I'm kept alive on 1 HP. I bring in the Ninetales, but I'm not able to charm down. That is not great. Rock Slide takes me out. In comes Runerigus. It's a tie. Man, what a close game. Very tough lead in the next match, Alolan Ninetales into Venusaur. I will immediately save switch into Shadow Girafarig. Venusaur is choosing to stay in, so I'm going for the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs is going to do massive damage onto the Venusaur, and Venusaur is going to fire back with a move. I will of course need to shield this up, and then my opponent is going to bring in Defense Deoxys. They've already seen how much damage the Giraffe does, so I'm actually going to bait a Deoxys and get a shield, and the threat of a Thunderbolt is enough to force them to throw their energy. Let's go. They Psycho Boost, so honestly, I'm just going to farm down with the Ninetales. They're debuffed, so their moves are not going to do a lot of damage, but I want to try and leave with a ton of energy so I can threaten the Venusaur. They're firing off another move. I believe this is only a Psycho Boost, which is perfectly fine. They go for the Psycho Boost. They aggressive switch into the Venusaur, and I have loaded energy. Weather Ball takes out the Venusaur. Do they bring back in Deoxys? They do, and I can bring in Runerigus. Runerigus able to farm down. In the back, they have Shadow Swampert. I'm going for the bait. Even if they call it, I'm in a good spot. Sand Tomb does get no shielded, but from here, I'm just going to go straight Sand Tomb. I'm just going to debuff them and then charm this Shadow Swampert all the way down. They do commit the final shield, and do you want to see how much damage charms do to this Swampert? In comes the A9. Look at the damage. All I have to do is shield. This charm will KO the Swampert, and we pick up the win. Hopping into the next match, so the A9 into Trevenant. Pretty neutral lead, but A9 is going to get outpaced in this matchup. I'm going to throw 4 charms, wait a turn, switch, and catch the Shadow Ball onto my Shadow Girafarig. This is resisted, but Girafarig is so glassy that it still does almost all of my health. I farm up, and I'm going to fire off a Psychic Fangs, hoping this is going to be enough to KO. Psychic Fangs barely is not, and Trevenant is going to reach a Seed Bomb. I decide to shield up my Girafarig. They're going to be switching out, and they bring in Lantern. I'm only getting to 1 move, so I'm just going straight for the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is going to do a solid chunk of damage onto the Lantern. Lantern able to farm down. I'm going to bring in the Ninetales. Ninetales will be able to tank any 1 move here. They do fire off the Thunderbolt. That's going to hurt. I farm up, and I believe this should be Weather Ball range. So I fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball is enough to take out the Lantern. They have the very low health Trevenant, and their final Pokemon in the back is going to be Tentacruel. This is honestly not great because Tentacruel now has access to Scald. Scald charges a lot faster than Hydro Pump, meaning that they're going to be able to get to 2 Scalds in this matchup. I'm just going to keep firing off Sand Tomb after Sand Tomb, trying to debuff them as much as I possibly can, but things are honestly not looking great for me here. I fire off another Sand Tomb, able to grab a shield. They are at Scald number 2. Can Runerigus survive it? Yes, we can, but that does a ton of damage. I'm going to be firing off yet another Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb gets the final shield. They switch into Trevenant and they reset their debuff. I am not going to be able to reach another Sand Tomb. I switch into the Ninetales, but they're just going to be able to Acid Spray the Ninetales, Poison Jab down the Runerigus, and we lose a very close game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a great lead, A9 into another Altaria. They save switch into Toxicroak. I farm up, wait a turn, switch, and catch what should hopefully be a Sludge Bomb onto my Runerigus, but unfortunately my opponent baited. That would have been an absolutely glorious catch if they Sludge Bombed, but either way, I'm still in a great spot here. I tank 2 Mud Bombs, I'm fully able to farm down, and I leave with a massive amount of energy to threaten the Altaria if that's what they decide to bring in. They do bring in the Altaria. I'm hoping I can reach double Shadow Ball. I fire off the first Altaria, looking for the farm down. Runerigus says no. Able to reach a second Shadow Ball. That gets the Altaria very low. I'm going to bring in my A9. In the back, they have Registeel. Who wins? The #1 Great League Pokemon on PvPoke or 1 Shadow Girafarig? I'm just going straight for the Psychic Fangs. They may be able to lower my attack with Zap Cannon, but I'm able to outpace them and just continue to lower their defense more and more and more with the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs is gonna start to grab shields. These double kicks are doing a ton of damage to Registeel. Girafarig firing off another Psychic Fangs. Registeel able to reach a last second move, but at this point, Girafarig has done its job. Alolan Ninetales will charm through the rest of their team, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading A9 into Lantern. This is a negative lead for A9 just because of how spammy Lantern is. Lantern will be able to reach 2 surfs before I'm even able to get to my first Psyshock, and this second surf, while it's not enough to KO, would basically take me out, so I am going to commit the shield. I'm going to throw 3 more charms and then fire off my Psyshock just before they're able to reach surf number 3. This way, I'm maximizing my energy. I fire off the Psyshock. Psyshock does get the shield, and they're going to go straight for the surf. At this point, I do want to save at least 1 shield for Shadow Girafarig. So I'm going to bring in Shadow Girafarig, and I'm going to fire off the Psychic Fangs, which is going to be taking care of the Lantern. We'll have to see what they have in the back, and it's Alolan Raticate. Double kicks hitting for double super effective damage here. Alolan Raticate can hit for super effective damage itself with Crunch, so I do have to be careful. I farm up to the Thunderbolt, and I'm going for the Psychic Fangs bait, hoping for the final shield. They let it go. I need to commit to the farm down. Girafarig not going to be able to farm down as they reach a last second move. Crunch takes out the Girafarig. I bring in Runerigus. Runerigus able to farm down. In the back, they have Altaria, and unfortunately, this is looking like it's game over. I go for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gets the shield, and I concede the match. Hopping into the final match, leading A9 into Walrein. This is a great lead for A9, and the fact that Walrein is staying in means they very well could be weak to A9 somewhere in the back as well. They're going to fire off an Earthquake. I'm going to let this go because I do comfortably tank the Earthquake. I'm going to farm up and fire off the Psyshock just before they're able to reach the Icicle Spear. Psyshock goes unshielded, and I win lead. In the back, they have Drapion, and this is absolutely terrible as my entire team is very weak to Dark Poisons. Crunch will take me out. I bring in Shadow Girafarig. In the back, they have Medicham, and maybe I have a chance here. I'm going to Psychic Fangs to debuff the Medicham, farm up some extra energy on Girafarig, and then I'm going to bring in Runerigus. I need to get an energy lead on Runerigus, so that way I can spam out Sand Tombs against the Drapion. So honestly, I'm just going to try and commit to the farm down here. This could be an Ice Punch. I do need to respect it. It's actually a dynamic punch, and I'm able to farm down. Back in comes the Drapion, but my Runerigus is absolutely loaded on energy. I fire off the first Sand Tomb. They're going to let that go because they know the future Sand Tombs are going to do more. Sand Tomb number 2 does get the shield. Drapion farming up, and they do not want to take any more debuffs. They're going to let that go. Crunch is going to take me out. In comes Girafarig, and look at the double kick damage now that they're debuffed. Let's throw a third debuff on there. Girafarig will be able to double kick down the Drapion and clutch the win. All in all, I had an absolute blast running Shadow Girafarig. To be honest, this is probably the most fun new Pokemon I've tried. It's definitely not a meta Pokemon for the Great League or a must-have, but it's an incredibly fun mon to use. With the quick energy generation from Double Kick, the bait and debuff potential of Psychic Fangs, and then the nuke potential from Thunderbolt, Shadow Girafarig will let you have some incredibly fun sets. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.